Rica, as you guys can tell.
It was not the easiest emotionally or just logistically to get out of Canada and make it here at all.
But now that we're here, it just feels so good. We both decided that the best thing that felt right most in our hearts for us was to have a home birth. Now, we want to share with you guys our whole plan today, but we also realize that especially when it comes with birth, you can create the most beautiful, perfect scenario for yourself, but at the end of the day, you have to just really open yourself up and surrender to the universe, because the universe will guide our way through it all, and whatever way this unfolds is exactly the way it's supposed to be. So as we surrender, let's go sit down and talk about it a little bit. Let's go. So where do we start?
That's a big video.
I guess we'll start at the beginning.
Well, we weren't planning at the specific moment that you got pregnant to be having a baby yet.
No, but the discussion began, I think, even like last summer, we were like, you know, I think it's time for us to really think about expanding our family, you know.
And even further than that, we were planning to start. So we had already started the planning phase.
Yeah, because you know, you do all the research, or you start looking into it, and there's like all the apps you can download.
You downloaded
like,
some of the apps.
I started to, yeah. There's like folic acid that you should be taking to help your fertility.
So we'd both gone out and bought folic acid.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because we started doing the preliminary planning to try, but we
then kind of our goal was like, okay, when the summer 2020 hits, maybe we'll really like start trying.
Yeah, where you're like, in this short window of time,
when you're,
this is where the magic will happen.
So, which is so funny, because then when we found out that I was pregnant, it was actually a few days before my birthday in May.
Yeah.
It came quite a shock and a surprise, because we're like, wow, this is like a magical miracle baby. We called it.
Yeah, we called it the miracle baby, because we were just like out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just happened, and I guess that's what happens with the universe. It just decides for you, right?
I think we felt like we'd be more ready, but we weren't. And we both looked at each other. We realized we knew absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it was just kind of like you start at ground zero, and you're like, okay, here we go. Like this is happening, and this is gonna happen. We're excited. We're very happy about it. We weren't expecting it, but we were happy. So we started to do our research, and I think, you know, the birth plan it's a really beautiful creation, I think, that began to mold between the two of us, because it really was about doing all the research and then just seeing how all the information that was out there felt in our hearts, and then asking each other, like, well, you know, how does this sit with us, and is this the right path for us? But
I think the most important thing was that you made the decision, and we both did all the research.
Yeah, so it was really like a teamwork. And of course, obviously, I'm the person that's giving the birth in the end, so I have to feel the safest and the most comfortable. But I think the safety and the comfort, what came from the idea of being able to actually educate ourselves and talk about it, and have someone for me to be like, this is how I feel, like, you know, providing me guidance.
Here comes the gang. That was it.
So anyways.
What was really important is Juliana had always communicated to me
when we talked about kids in general.
You would kind of just be like, I want to have the most natural birth possible with as few drugs involved, and neither of us really knew what that meant.
Yeah.
But we knew that that was the starting point.
It was just like an intuition in your heart. It's like, when I'm ready, when it's time for me to go through this beautiful, transformative time into motherhood, this is the experience I envision for myself. So when that time came to actually start making the real plan, we knew, like, in our hearts, like, this is where we were guided to. But then,
so we were like, let's learn about what that means. It gave us a direction to start researching. There was a few pieces of information and media
and
resources that I think are extremely pivotal.
Let's talk about a couple of the movies that really impacted
I think
us.
the first thing that really hit us was the movie The Business of Being Born.
The Business of Being Born by Ricky Lake. And it's a beautiful documentary. We'll put a link somewhere in the video, or in the description of this video for you guys to go and check it out. But it was just very eye-opening because it really showed the everything, the medical system, the way a lot of women felt that their control was taken away from them in certain situations, and then like the beautiful experiences that a lot of women went through home birthing. So it just opened our eyes and filled us with so much information. Like right on, I remember we're like, holy crap.
The first thing I learned from that movie that really made me suspicious about the medicalization of birth was the fact that the natural way for a woman to give birth is standing up in a squat, or like with gravity to help,
or moving, like even just the idea of being able to move and drink water during labor, is a huge component.
And the fact that women are told to lie on their backs in hospitals was actually started because it was most comfortable for the doctor. And so that was it. Like right there, it was like, okay, we have to question everything and really do our best to learn.
And then we started reading lots of different books as well. Ina May Gaskin she's one of the most famous midwives in America, has been a huge inspiration to help us with our decision making because, well, one, she has many amazing books that we would highly recommend. Two of the books that we read was called Spiritual Midwifery and also The Guide to Childbirth. And there's a documentary about her called Birthstory, which just follows her and like I guess it was like a 1970s commune in America called The Farm. Yeah, and
it was basically a bunch of hippies just moved to a farm in like Tennessee. Is it Tennessee?
I can't remember. Somewhere in America.
And they just started The Farm, which was, a collective of people living in harmony together and assisting people in giving
natural childbirth. Yeah, and it still exists actually. People still are able to travel there and have a natural home birth experience, which I think is so important, is just educating ourselves on what are the options out there. And I think that was kind of the first feeling like we felt going into it. It's like, you just kind of look at the way it's being presented to you. Well, you got to go to the hospital and you just got to give birth, and that's how it's done. But then when you actually take a step back and look at all the options, then you can really make the right choice for yourself. And don't get us wrong, I mean, I think, like we said earlier, I think every woman should just have the right and the choice to make the decision that feels most comfortable for her. And for some people, it is a hospital, and that's fine, right? Again, for us, the decision came from seeing what's out there, and to us personally, felt like a more natural home experience was the right thing.
What was really amazing through the process of all this research is we found that there's a whole movement online called the Birth Consciousness Movement. And that's like blogs and social media accounts and Instagram accounts and all kinds of resources.
And just even positive stories.
To bring positivity.
Yeah, because, a lot of the times I feel like so many women hear these very horrific, scary stories because, it happens. Birth is, like we said earlier, you can't control it really. You can make a plan, but really anything goes. And so a lot of women sometimes share these like terrible stories in the hospitals, and it fills your mind with so much fear. And then you're looking at this process you're about to go into, like filled with like, oh my God, this is going to be the most terrible, scariest thing I'm about to face. So what's beautiful is to actually read and hear the millions of positive stories and amazing experiences that women have had through childbirth, to fill your mind and your conscious being of preparing yourself for this moment, being like, no, childbirth and bringing life into this world, it should be the most beautiful miracle that you go through, because women's bodies, like, we're made for this. Like nature has created us to be able to grow life in our bellies and to bring life into this world, and so we shouldn't be treating it like a medical emergency.
There's a lot of stigma that sort of makes you feel like there's only one way. If you think about every movie or television show you've ever seen, it's a panic.
Yeah.
And it's screaming and it's terrible and people are running around, and it's a really, seemingly from outside, especially when, like us, we know nothing except what we see from these things, it's a terrible experience to go through. And I think that the birth consciousness movement is really important because it shows everyone, all of humanity, that we've been giving birth for millions of years.
Since the beginning of time.
And
that's how we're here.
And it's not like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Some might be. And hopefully, like everyone who's watching this and ourselves and everyone, we won't go through something traumatic or something emergency. But if you look at it as a team and you train yourselves to see it as a positive thing,
you're walking into it with a positive, beautiful energy and intention, and at the end of the day, surrendering to that process, right? And that's, I think, how we're looking at it too, and that's why we're sharing this video with you guys today. Like, we have this wonderful plan built, but we also understand, like, hey, who knows, like, maybe I will need an intervention, maybe I will need to go to the hospital, and I have to also, in my mind, like, accept it, but not plan for it, you know what I mean? Plan for a beautiful, positive, wonderful experience, and just be like, okay, I surrender. Whatever way it goes, it'll go. So that's kind of where we're at with it.
It is so hot.
We're grabbing water.
All right.
So back to the story. So we're in Canada, just found out we're about to have a baby. So the plan is we want to have a home birth. What do we do? Where do we go?
Well, we lived in British Columbia at the time.
Vancouver Island.
Which is the far west coast of Canada. And although Canada is revered as having a wonderful public health system, it's not always what it's cracked up to be. In fact, I think through our experience in the last 10 years, we believe it's not even that great of a public medical system.
No, we've lived on Vancouver Island for like 2 years, and we couldn't even find a family doctor. Like, it was just impossible.
Which is weird because we were on 3 waiting lists for 2 years trying to get a family doctor. And the thing about BC specifically as a province in Canada is they won't allow any kind of private healthcare. They say it's un-Canadian, so it's illegal to offer private healthcare of any kind. So even if we wanted to hire a doctor, we're legally not allowed.
So ridiculous. And plus, finding out, like, knowing that we wanted to do a home birth, midwife was the right option as well, because midwives are usually people, the nurses or the professionals that come into your home and help you with the home birth experience. So, we looked around what kind of facilities BC or Vancouver Island was offering for midwifery. And there's a couple that we found, but honestly, like, most of them were all booked up and they wouldn't even take me, which was a little frustrating. And there's that one that we found that would take me.
Yeah, which is, again, it's like trying to find a family doctor. There's just, it's not like you got a waiting list when you're pregnant.
Yeah,
it's like they're literally,
I need it now.
They were just on the island, they were just all booked up.
Yeah, and it was the experience, the women that, I guess every pregnant woman gets like a set of midwives, and you're like in this little circle. And this was during the time of COVID, so the first 2 appointments that I went in, I was by myself. Like, Mark wasn't allowed to come with me.
It was terrible. Even your first ultrasound, I wasn't allowed to go in for.
Yeah, which was really kind of sad. And also, like, my experience there was fine. Like, they were very kind people, and the ladies were, they were great when you spoke to them, but there was just something missing. Like, I felt like there was no personal touch to it.
Well, there's no relationship building.
Yeah, there was no relationship building, and I find that, like, for something like home birth, I'd want to feel very, very comfortable around the people that are helping me through this transition. And so that was already kind of like felt a little weird, just like uneasy. And I never felt like, yeah, I was okay, like, but I never felt good.
We had a really nice Skype meeting with one, and then I remember you went in the next, like, a couple weeks later, and I was like, oh, how is the woman that we met? And because she was wonderful, we had so much in common with her. She's like, oh, I had a whole new person. And then the next time we went in, or Juliana went in, it was like, oh, I had a whole new person. So each time they didn't really seem to know anything. And that was when sort of alarm bells started going off for us, because all that mattered was feeling comfortable. And the idea of relative strangers being involved with such an intimate process in our home
felt a little weird.
So it kind of left us to be like, okay, well, what are other options? We started looking at other provinces, but then, of course, like, we've always, if you've ever watched other videos, talked about how much our heart sings for Costa Rica. So we were like wondering, is Costa Rica a viable option?
Yeah. And you know, we do understand also that we feel very blessed with the idea that we can even have that option.
Well, we can even explore it at that time.
Because I know, like, if this was 6 years ago, I know we wouldn't be able to even have the possibility to explore an option of going to a different country.
So it was a privilege to explore Costa Rica, but it was also a blessing. And I think once we started doing it, we were like, as long as we can find a solution in Costa Rica
that makes us feel comfortable, then it felt right. And so I think that's where the research really began. And I remember we were like looking at like blogs and you know, Google in general, just looking it up. And through all of this research, we definitely found some incredible people that are out here, and a lot of amazing positive stories of women giving birth in Costa Rica. So for those of you guys that maybe are not familiar with what a midwife and a doula is, so a midwife is like the medical professional during the home birth process, right? So they're usually, you know, nurses, trained and everything in regards to delivering baby. They pretty much can do everything that a doctor can outside of, you know, surgeries and C-sections. And then doulas are more of that spiritual support. So they necessarily don't do the medical procedures or any kind of medical help, but they're there to emotionally support you through the birthing process. And I've read so many people advising a lot of women saying it's worth getting a doula because it's just that extra little bit of support is so amazing to have. And also they offer a lot of after birth care as well, which was really appealing to Mark and I, because the doulas that we found, they'll be coming to our home every single day for like 2 weeks after the baby's born and helping us, teaching us, and guiding us through this beautiful new journey. It's bumpy, so you want, I don't know, I need extra support because I don't want it to be too bumpy for the baby. Just jungle roads.
It's really funny because we rented this car that looks like it could basically go on an insane jungle safari, yet we spend all our time driving around on the dirt roads here at like 10 kilometers an hour because Julianne is pregnant, so people must look at us and be like, they're in that freaking car, but they're driving like grandmas.
Need one of those little stickers that say baby on the way, so then they like have sympathy for our slow driving. And every time we pass a bump, it's like, how slow can you go? That's pretty much the thing. Here we are. So we made it home, and I guess let's talk about the actual plan now.
Yeah.
Like, what is our birth plan?
It's probably time to do that.
Yeah.
After all this.
So after all of this research that we've done, we found and created a beautiful team out here in Costa Rica.
And on the 1st of January, we are headed from Nassau, where we are right now, to San Jose, Costa Rica.
And we rented this cute little Airbnb for the whole month. And you know, at first it was interesting because we had to be honest with the woman that owns it and say, look, like, this is our plan, we want to have a home birth, are you comfortable?
And she was like, yes, of course. She was really, really cool about it.
She's like, I've never had anyone give birth in my house. I'm like, okay.
It was really awkward at first, and then it got really exciting, actually.
She's really, really sweet, so we really lucked out.
We were super appreciative that she was so willing and open to strangers having babies in her house.
And she's really, really sweet lady too, so it was really great. But yeah, so our team right now is going to consist of 2 midwives that we were able to connect with. You know, we had like lots of Skype calls with many different people.
For a while, yeah, in the summer we were like doing a Skype call each night.
Just like to really find, you know, the right midwives and people that really connected with us. And actually one of the midwives, she's from Canada originally, but she's been living in Costa Rica for the last 20 years, I think, right? And delivering babies this whole time. I mean, she's got so much experience and confidence.
And so many stories. So
many stories that made us feel very, very comfortable. And then the second midwife is Costa Rica, and she's just the sweetest, kindest person with the most beautiful energy. So, yeah, it felt really, really nice.
And then we have 2 doulas, or you have 2 doulas.
Well, we hired 2 doulas. And there are 2 ladies from South America who are, again, just like really beautiful people, really good energy. Once we came here before coming to Nosara, we spent some time in San Jose really getting to know them and meeting them. And
It was like fast friends.
yeah, it was.
Like just really like clicked immediately.
They came over, and I think they spent like 4 hours like at the house.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. So the two doulas are wonderful because they're also going to be such a beautiful support for us. As you know, when we get to our place at the beginning of January, they're going to be coming over every couple of days and really just guiding us and training us like for the preparation of birth.
The huge benefit to it is after the baby, they'll be coming every day for 2 weeks to as long as we need them.
Yeah, they said usually, you know, until like breastfeeding is established, they'll come every day and check up on the baby and check up on us and really teach us.
Teach us. We just keep saying we're sponges.
Like, I don't know how to change a diaper. Like, please just like guide us through everything.
Yeah.
So it's really special. And yeah, and the last component of our team is actually the OBGYN doctor that we met, who the two midwives work very, very often with. And so, you know, he came as a recommendation from them to us, and we went and met him as well, and he was, again, just a very wonderful person, like really kind, and he has a more of a holistic approach to childbirth and the way he sees it. They actually work together a lot because I'm not the only person that goes through birth plans, like, or creates plans like this, and so they're very well connected. And so yeah, like they stay on WhatsApp, and like as soon as I'm in labor, he's just on call, and hopefully we won't even need him. But let's say, you know, as we know, anything goes at that point. And if the midwives thought I needed to be transferred to a hospital for whatever reason, he is going to be already on call waiting for us there at the hospital. So there's like this connection that we have.
Which is really special, I think, because in Canada, you show up at the hospital when it's your time, and it's kind of like, it's just a random who's the doctor on at that point.
Yeah, and I think it's important for all the women out there to remember, you know, whether this is the first time you're really considering alternative ways of giving birth, or maybe you're just curious, like, just remember that you always have choice and an option to really look at everything that's provided out there. And you have to search within your own heart and ask yourself, where is it I feel the most safe and protected? And for some people, that might be the hospital, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people maybe want like a birthing center, because I know those exist as well, where you come and, you know, it's this facility that's kind of like a home, but it's a little bit kind of in between a hospital and a center.
And we've met a ton of people actually here in Nasara who have done home births here in Nasara and haven't gone to San Jose for that extra layer of protection that we felt was necessary of having hospitals close by.
Yeah.
And we met some people who were like, oh, we had our baby on the beach.
In the jungle.
We're in the jungle. We're just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like, you know,
but
hearing that is,
safe.
yeah, like that was amazing. To me, I'm like, you know, to me personally, I need that extra layer of like, if something goes on, especially as my first birth, I want to know that there is a hospital and medical help nearby. But again, it's different for everybody. So I think that's a beautiful message for us to end this with, is that we're simply sharing our plan and our story. But at the end of the day, you have to listen to your own heart, and that will be the right answer for you in going through this beautiful experience of giving birth.
And with that, we give you our birth plan.
Yeah, thanks
like
so much.
The longest video
Thanks
ever.
so much for watching, guys. It's probably a super long video, but anyways, this is our journey. This is our next step, and we'll keep you updated on how it all goes.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Lots of love.